Let's test those freaking Hoosier tires today.
So I just finished my warm-up routine. We still have some tires to test. We're gonna test the slick tire and the treaded tire today. First, I'm gonna take the slick tire for a run on the streets to check out the flow and the playfulness. After that, we're gonna check the volume, the bunkers, the sliders and whatnot. And then we're also gonna give the treaded tire a run for its money. So my current street style setup is the FM stock machine with the Bodhi Pro center steez and the Cush low. And we also have the MonoRide Hoosier slick tire, which is a new one-wheel specific tire from Hoosier on there. The gate's open, step through. So the first thing that I noticed off the bat is that on a high speed I have almost zero wobble, which is amazing because I've tested some tires and even the better ones sometimes tend to wobble when you're on a high speed, and here I hit pushback, no wobble whatsoever. That's a good thing. Stability is key when you ride on this one wheel. So we're gonna ride out, do some street spot to see how the flow is, how the stability and the playfulness is when hitting these small items, bunks on the or while driving on the road. And for a tire that is not broken in yet, it definitely rides smoother than the T2 I got back in the day. When I bought it new, it was a bit more stiff, and the softer compound is definitely helping for a smoother ride. Currently looking for some cool spots to give this tire a proper test. I don't know the exact PSI, which is interesting. I always do it by feeling. I don't want to ride a bowling ball. I want my tire to be like a bit squishy, and I always do it by feeling the tire. That's my instinct. I've been a mechanic for 15 years and that's kind of grown into me. And I'm now riding the playful PSI, so let's see if it can get me bonking with that softer compound. Okay, we have quite a nice downhill in front of us. As you can see, this street is going all the way down and it has a lot of cool features left and right to play on. So let's see how this machine flows with this new tire. I do like the flow on this tire. It is quite forgiving even for a new tire, which is quite surprising because normally you really have to break it in well to be very comfortable, and I don't really feel any obvious glitches because of it being a new tire. So the soft compound was definitely a good move. Downhill. This one is on the street, just flat. Let's see how stable this tire is, because we're gonna pick up some speed here. Holding up quite nicely. I didn't expect that. On the first backside turn I hit quite a few bumps and I was able to stick it out and to ride it out, which is quite phenomenal. I do notice that this tire has a bit more grip. That's probably also to do with the softness, because softer tires in general will have more grip, and that takes some getting used to in the landings, because normally with the other tire that I have, yeah, it's just different. It's not that it's bad, it's just different in the landings, and you have to be aware of that in the first few tricks to get that muscle memory tuned in, because currently I still have it set on the other tires. But it's fun. I like it. I like it a lot. We already have some good insights on the playfulness of the tire, but I did not come across any sliding obstacles, so I'm gonna take out the slider and see how this tire performs on the slide exercises. Pop over, get the rocks out. That's not good for the rail or the board. about that front sider. Ooh, damn, I like this thing. It's definitely a good slider as well. I'm used to sliding like every kind of tire now, even the treaded. So when you're tackling it with a slick like this, it just is absolutely phenomenal. The control, the slipperiness, the playfulness, it's all there. I really like it. So let's round up test number 1 here and let's go to tire number 2, the treaded tire. And what better place to test the new Hoosier treaded tire than this place, One Ye Park. And for my trail setup, we have the Vesk machine with the FAF center stees, the Cush High, and also the Hoosier MonoRide new treaded tire, which I've been really looking forward to riding. Very grippy tire. Let's compare. If you check like the seam or where the sidewall starts, you have quite a sharp edge on the old tire, and the new one seems more round because you cannot really see this edge right here. It just goes over into the tire, which should be a bit more playful, and otherwise the pattern seems the same, the width, the size is the same. So the compound is softer, that's something we noticed. It was easier to install. It doesn't bonk as high, that's something that I noticed. So that's where we're giving in a little bit. If you ride a soft tire, you will notice that. But otherwise, it all seems very nice. And because of the softness, it is a bit more grippy. So at first, your muscle memory needs to get used to that. But let's stop talking about this and start shredding. Here we have some perfect terrain to test this new MonoRide one-wheel tire. It's a very nice downhill slope, which is pretty wet and pretty bumpy. Perfect to test the stability and the flow of this tire. In a minute we're gonna flow into the border cross, which is a steep downhill with wet grass and bumpy terrain. So hold on to your horses to see if this tire holds up. It pretty much eats up the Thunderdome drop going to the camel lumps. I pretty much have to hold back. It's a very stable ride. And here the most sketchy drop, which is almost always a tail scraper.
Oh, this still is a tricky one.
Which is done pretty nicely, carving through the gutter there. On this tire, it's really a pleasure to ride it out. We even have good grip on the slippery wet surface and the grassy surface here. A muddy uphill which it eats up with ease, and the Vesk will also contribute to that. Now we have a wet downhill slope. Let's see how it carves it out. We pretty much still have a good stability going on, and I really like how this feels. You can really put some pressure on the edges, and even on this wet downhill surface it's pretty much holding on to the solid ground. Muddy lane. It's still muddy lane. So let's throw some mud at this tire. I'm just going to ease off and see how grippy this tire is in very wet mud conditions.
As you can see, you should pick your best grippy tire for this race, because it's gonna be dirty.
Normally we should be able to get through this, as it's not all water but just some mud, and we do love some mud on our hands. So riding through this lane, it feels very stable, and I also have the same feeling as with the slick tire. It doesn't really need to be broken in to have this flowy ride, which I really like. you don't really have to spend too much time breaking in the new tire. So let's go on a little group ride in the onewheel trails to check how this tire performs on a bit more of a speedy run. And as you can see, it's also quite muddy in the trails, so it's a good test to see how this tire will hold up playing around in the wet trails. Feels nice and sturdy, and I do have a little bit more air in the tire, which makes it very pleasant to play around. It's actually the first time that I get to ride this Hoosier treaded tire, the one with the softer compound, and I really tend to like it. I don't have to flatten it as much to have that soft ride on all these pebbles, and it's definitely a bit more grippier and a bit more rounded than the old T2 tire, which is making it very enjoyable to ride and to glide. And even on the bumpy terrain, this tire holds up pretty well. I like playing around, and having a bit more air in there means that I can jump and bonk around, which is a bit getting used to because I've been riding really low PSIs, but with this softer compound you can really put some more air in there to have some fun. It's always motivating when you have new rubber under your feet. You always tend to push a little bit harder, and the confidence just kicks in because of that nice and grippy tire. I love it! The MonoRide onewheel tire series is much like the old car tire. The depth of the tread seems the same as my old Hoosier T2 treaded tire. There are no specific changes to the original sidewall. The only major changes that I'm aware of are the softer compound, and the tire is more rounded. I'm happy with the changes that were made on the tire, as this already was my favorite tire for the streets and the trails. Maybe for a next upgrade it would be nice to see Hoosier working together with the onewheel community to make an even better onewheel tire. But they have done a pretty good job so far. Thanks Hoosier for leveling up my favorite onewheel tire and making the ride even more buttery. I know that me jumping around in this video might seem a bit misleading, but I actually made this footage before I had the accident. I'm still recovering from the broken ribs. I must say everything is going very well and I'm healing up good. It will take a while before I will be able to ride, but we still have some awesome videos coming up, so don't worry about that. If you want to grab one of these tires, they are available at the Hoosier website or on Amazon. They also seem reasonably priced. I just hope to see them in Europe soon as well for a reasonable price, because you know the story of import and taxes and all that. Looking forward to that, and on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bam!